I'm not the best person to teach you about how to write a resume or CV because I haven't written one for at least 10 years or more. I should say what is the difference between a resume and a CV. Resume is the American English. CV, it stands for curriculum vitae. That's Latin, but it's used in England. So British English CV, American English resume. And it's your job history and education, and it's the something that you send to a prospective employer that you want to get a job. Now, in Japan, I've noticed that it's often they insist on it being handwritten, and you can go to a convenience store and get a format and write it out. That's not the usual way of doing things in an English speaking country. You make your own resume or CV. And the usual convention is you do it as a one page, one A4 size, get everything summarized onto one, easily readable. So you have to summarize a lot. And you can follow your own format, but it does follow certain conventions, the usual way of doing things. The best way is to read through the examples and the points raised in the lesson, but also just to show you, I just typed in sample resume into Google, and this is the first site that came up, and I'm going to share it with you and just talk about it a little bit. Um, I I don't know if this is a good website. They're trying to sell you a way of making a resume. They may be good, they may be bad, I don't know, but I noticed that they were um, pretty good with examples. Now here is a teacher resume example. I don't think it's a real, excuse me, I don't think it's a real person. But you can see here, they've laid it out themselves. Name at the top, and it says professional summary. So you're giving a sort of like a main paragraph explaining who you are, what you do, and why you should be considered. But then you've got work history, which goes from most recent to most in the distant past. So most recent here is from when you started, June 2021 to current, right? And world history teacher from June 2017 to May 2021. So you can see it's going back in time. And then they've got skills, the things that they're good at, and then education. If you have a degree, you just need to put that really. Once you have a degree, we don't really care about high school or anything, unless it's very relevant. So that's pretty good. And as you can see, it's quite easy to read one page, and there's lots of white space. And the whole idea of a resume or CV is to get you that interview. And then in the interview, they might be looking at this and talk to you. When I was sending out resumes when I was a young man, we did this by paper. Now you would send it by email, or you'd even just have a link and send them to your LinkedIn profile, I guess. That's what I would suggest now, but of course, fashions change, so you have to keep up. You'll have to do a bit of research on Google, like I'm doing now. There's a good example. Let me just show you another example. This is for a nurse. Again, now here they've put a photo on there. If you're nice and young, maybe it's a good idea to put your picture on. I know in Japan it's standard to have photographs. Yeah, you have to be a little careful of that because there's rules about people being biased against if you, um, you know, male or female or young or old or black or white. A photograph will show immediately what your racial composition and age and everything. And so some people are a bit careful about that, and also that they don't like to put their age. People don't want to be. I know in Japan you often put your age. You always put your date of birth. I think you can volunteer that information, but it's a very touchy subject. The fact is, if you have work history and qualifications and education, you can work out probably how old somebody is. And also, you can see how much information they've got here. I like what this person's done there with the layout of two um, columns. You've got a brief column here with a contact and education, and certifications. That's important if she wants to be a nurse. Also languages. Wow, a bit of Italian, a bit of Spanish. Interesting. You could put your English ability there. And Japanese ability, of course. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll do one more. That one I didn't particularly like because it's hard to read. Lots of capital letters. Not much work history. I guess this is a young person. So the thing is, you put your most powerful, important things first. So like this person's got a summary statement and summary of qualifications, relevant skills, and only a little bit of work history down here because their work history is not that great. And they haven't graduated yet. So, they put that down the bottom. You can do that if you make your own resume or CV. So of these three, I quite liked this one. The layout of this one's very easy to read. And you could imagine somebody wanting to offer a job to this person. This one too is equally good. That one, yeah, a little bit tough. What else have we got? There's another one. Yeah, that's pretty well laid out. Again, you can see that they do like to have a professional summary at the top. And yeah, don't forget to put your contacts where you can be contacted. And these days I think you really need to email it as an attachment, as a PDF, something that they can open up. Or as I say, with links to your LinkedIn if you've got it, or a website. I think these days employers do a sort of Google search on you, so make it easy for them. That would be my advice. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. So yeah, the thing about resumes is they don't guarantee you a job, but just remember that the purpose of the resume or CV is to get you the interview. So be interesting. And there's a question about whether you should be original, super original in your resume. I would suggest probably not. You want to be professional. However, I mean, if you were applying for an unusual job or some very creative job, maybe it would be a good idea to have a very original resume, CV. You have to make that call. You have to decide. But I think when you're first starting out, and if you're young, the most important thing is to show that you can be trusted and reliable and know the formats of business. So my advice would be do a bit of research on Google or wherever, see what the styles of resumes or CVs in your desired job are, and follow those patterns, the similar patterns. But always put your most powerful, important thing first or easiest to read. Okay, I hope that's helpful. But as I say, I've been self-employed for 17 years, so I haven't really used. I made one resume 10 years ago for a teaching job that I didn't get in the end. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but that's what I think. See what, have a go and proofread it and show it to somebody before you send it off, and make sure there's no spelling mistakes. There's also a question, should you have it in English and in Japanese? I mean, yes, probably. There's nothing better than to show that you are able to speak English by having an English resume. Don't just say, oh, yes, I can speak English. And then there's nothing proving that. An English resume says, I can speak English. Equally, a Japanese resume says, I can speak Japanese. So I would have both. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll talk about the topic next time. Thank you very much. See you.